I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL. Azzaro Wanted by Night is one of my favourite designer fragrances, but there's a new Wanted on the block. Azzaro Wanted Tonic. To find out what I think about this one, stay tuned to FM. So I really like Azzaro's Wanted line of fragrances. The original is very nice. I enjoy Wanted by Night even more. That's up my street in terms of the notes, the leather, the tobacco. It's sweet, big cinnamon bomb, fantastic performance, much better than you usually find with designer fragrances, and it doesn't smell generic either. Azzaro have come in with their take on a blue aquatic marine scent. So how does this one stand up in a very saturated genre? Let's start off by taking a look at the bottle and the notes. Azzaro don't give us many notes in this one. It's an EDT concentration and we have lime, ginger and patchouli. Whilst we're looking at the bottle in close-up, we've obviously got the same design as the other Wanted fragrances. It's the gun chamber, so it's the chamber of the gun where the bullets would go. I'm not really sure why Azzaro ever went with this gun chamber design, but for some reason I kind of like it. It works. I think it shouldn't, but it does. Some people may think it looks a little gimmicky, but I don't mind it. I think it's all right. As you would expect, this is a salty, blue, marine, aquatic scent, whatever you want to call it. You know the genre, there's so many fragrances we have in that genre. This takes that salty marine accord and fuses it with that Wanted DNA. So if you liked Wanted the original, or if you thought maybe it was a little too sweet, I've seen that a few people thought it was almost cloying in its sweetness, then you may prefer this one because the sweetness is there, but it's dialed down. You have the salty aquatic notes which balance really well with the sweetness of this. Also take some of the sweetness of Wanted by Night, obviously not to the same level because that is a very sweet fragrance. To me, that's even sweeter than the original. But for me, this is a really nice balance of that Wanted DNA sweetness and a salty blue marine aquatic accord. Another fragrance I've recently talked about is the Acqua di Gio Profundo, which was a highly anticipated release, being that Profumo and the original Acqua di Gio have been so popular. I actually prefer this to Profundo. I would say the opening of Profundo is a little bit better than this because you get that lovely, rich, sweet, fruity blast of mandarin, which balances really nice with those aquatic notes. But for me, Profundo lost its sweetness very quickly. After about 30 minutes, it became this salty, aquatic skin scent, which was fine. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice fragrance. I just felt like I had better blue fragrances in my collection that I would reach for over that one, as I mentioned in the video that I made. Overall, I prefer Wanted Tonic because what I enjoy is that balance between the sweet and the salty marine accord. So Profundo loses its sweetness, whereas Tonic retains its sweetness. So throughout the life of Tonic, we get that lovely balance between the salty marine accords and that sweetness all the way through. The sweetness is there from beginning all the way through to the end. So really it's the sweetness of Tonic that makes me enjoy it so much, and it's that kind of fruity sweetness that we get from that Wanted DNA, but it seems to add a nice bit of depth to the fragrance. Although it's not a deep fragrance at all, it is very light, fresh, invigorating fragrance, but it just seems to have a little bit of depth due to that sweetness, and also it feels quite a rounded scent. So for a marine aquatic fragrance, that sweetness is just rounding things out really nicely. So off the top of this one, I have sprayed this. Cap's quite difficult to get off. I'm going to respray it just to get the opening again. I really enjoy the opening of this fragrance. In fact, I would say that it doesn't really transition that much. So what you get in the opening is pretty much what I get off my skin throughout the life of the fragrance. But it's a lovely opening. You get the lime and you get the ginger. So as you can imagine, it gives you this lovely fresh, invigorating, fruity citrus opening mixed with the zinginess and spiciness that ginger gives you. So really nice pairing, as you would want from a fragrance called Tonic. It's fresh, it's invigorating, and then we've got that underlying sweetness straight away. Patchouli is listed in here, but I don't really get a lot of patchouli. I don't think it's a patchouli scent. I think the patchouli here is probably supporting and acting as a base note, maybe a fixative, but I also feel like there must be some woodiness in here as well. Again, giving the fragrance a little bit of weight just to give it some lasting power on the skin, because it doesn't die away really quickly. It doesn't just evaporate within 30 minutes of spraying this fragrance. Azzaro haven't given us many notes for this one, so I'm sure there's a lot more going on in this, probably more kind of synthetic molecules than anything else. But I do think there is some woodiness here that isn't listed. So the name of this pretty much describes what you get, because the notes in here, the smell of the juice and the colour of the juice really conjure up blue Mediterranean waters, gives you that holiday feel, gives you that beach feel. It's exactly what you would expect. In terms of the scent profile as well, it's a very thin, light scent. A fragrance called Tonic is not going to be a beast mode fragrance at all. So it is a very light, thin, kind of just airy, refreshing marine aquatic.
Join the Scent Geeks every Monday as we podcast about all things fragrance. You'll find us anywhere you can usually find a podcast. Links are in the description below this video. See you there, geeks.
And that word tonic actually means a feeling of vigour and well-being, and I can't argue with that because that's exactly what I get from this fragrance. Now, let's talk about the genre of this, and I am going to say it is a generic fragrance, but generic doesn't always mean negative, okay? If there was a scale of a good generic and bad generic, this would be towards the upper end, meaning that in terms of it being generic, I think it is a good scent, and it can't really be anything but generic, because when a fragrance is aiming to be a marine aquatic, then there's only so much wiggle room within that scent profile, and I don't think there's a lot of scope to make blue aquatic marine scents that different or that unique. If you try to add more complexity to a DNA like this and try to make it more unique, then you would potentially lose the refreshing tonic profile that this fragrance has. So yes, it's generic, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the aim of this fragrance is to play into a specific genre. Yes, you will have smelt fragrances similar to this one before. It's definitely not reinventing the wheel, nor is its aim to do so. But if you enjoyed the Wanted DNA and you think you like the sound of salty marine aquatic accords fused in with the Wanted DNA and dialing back a little bit on that sweetness, then you might like this one. Let's talk about the performance of this one. As you might imagine, it's not going to be a beast mode performer at all, far from it. I'm getting around an hour of quite a nice projection, and then it's going to last around 6 hours on skin. If your skin heats up in the summertime, then you might just get a little bit longer out of that. I always try and test these summery fragrances when it isn't summer by going to the gym. So I do a workout, I let my skin heat up, and then it just gives me a better idea of how a fragrance works in a slightly different temperature. And yes, this one does work a little bit better when the skin heats up, so I would say it is 100% a summer fragrance. This is like a refreshing body spray. So, you know, you're on holiday, you're going to the beach for the day, maybe just give yourself an all-over body spray of this. And for me personally, this is how to use this fragrance. I think it's not an evening scent. I think it wouldn't really work in any other seasons. It is certainly a summer fragrance. It's been released now, so it can gain a little bit of traction, so people are going to be buying it in the summer. So for me, this is going to give me that really nice kind of cooling, fresh body spray type effect. Nothing really more than that. I do have other fragrances in this genre, not too many actually. I have Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue Eau Intense, and I have Invictus Aqua. Both those fragrances to me are doing a similar thing, but they are different. There are enough differences between these three fragrances to not make this one redundant to have, so I will be keeping hold of this. I am going to give it some wear during the summer, and I'm looking forward to wearing it during the summer as well. In terms of price, I didn't pay that much for this. I think I paid around 30 euros, got it off a Spanish website, so I was very pleased with that. I think it got shipped to me for under 40 euros. I don't think the Wanted line is that expensive. Give this a few months, I think you'll be able to pick this up quite easily in discounters. So I don't think it's going to be very expensive, and I don't think a scent like this should be very expensive. You don't really want to be paying more than around £30, I would say, or $30 for this 50ml bottle. Maybe, obviously, you'd pay a little bit more if you wanted the 100ml. I think could be worth getting the 100ml maybe, because when I spray this, I do spray quite a lot of it on. I'm going around 10 sprays just because it is quite a thin scent, but you know, it works for the intended use, I think. So I'm not sure of the price. When it's released in the UK, then maybe wait a few months and let that get discounted before you think about pulling the trigger. Gives you a chance to go in stores and spray it, try it, see if you like it. So if you're a fan of Wanted DNA and you quite fancy a generic fragrance, but generic done well, then I can recommend trying this one. Alright, so that about wraps it up. Wanted Tonic is nothing revolutionary, nothing that you won't have smelled before, but for what it's intended for, I think it does the job pretty well. So let me know if you've tried this one, I'd be interested. As I say, I don't think it's really got a worldwide release yet, so there's maybe not too many of you out there that have tried it. So if you haven't, and this video has been of some use to you, then I'm very pleased about that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, keep tuning into FM and keep smelling good.